Hi, I'm Dustin, one of the Ozcode magicians. In this video, we're going to look at the predict feature, which lets us see visually the path of our code execution. When debugging complex code with many conditional statements and possible paths, it can be tedious to work out which path the execution will take without actually stepping through the code. With Ozcode's predict feature, we get visual cues that indicate the next point of execution and even predicting issues such as null reference exceptions before they occur. The first function of predict is to show you where the next point of execution will be. When we hit this switch statement, you'll notice that all of the case statements get dimmed out, except for the matching case. See this yellow arrow? This is Ozcode showing us where the next line of execution will be. If we continue execution, we end up at the curly brace as predicted. Ozcode will show you predictions for conditional statements where the code has different paths that it can take. But sometimes Ozcode cannot evaluate the statement in order to provide a prediction. For example, this if statement makes a call to the file.exists method. By default, Ozcode will not evaluate method calls that have any potential side effects to the outside world. For example, network calls, database calls, or in this case, calls to the file system. Instead of a prediction, we'll see the eyeglasses with a question mark. However, since we know that checking to see if a file exists is pretty safe, we can tell Ozcode to go ahead and evaluate. Clicking on the eyeglasses will bring up annotations above the statement. There will be a question mark above the method call indicating that it wasn't evaluated. Clicking the drop-down on the annotation will give us a menu with the option to evaluate the method, which will evaluate this one instance, or you can tell Ozcode to always evaluate the file.exists method. Let's go ahead and change it to always evaluate. Once Ozcode evaluates the statement, it predicts that we'll end up executing the body of this if statement. But that's not right. If the file exists and we want to overwrite, then we should not be returning. So this looks like a logical error. Let's go ahead and edit the line and fix the logic. With edit and continue, we can make changes and immediately see how it affects the execution. With the correct logic in place, we now see the body of the if statement has been grayed out, and the yellow arrow is indicating that the next point of execution is the next if statement. As we step through, Ozcode predicts that a null reference exception is about to occur. This gives us a chance to add in a null check. Let's update the code to prevent a null reference exception and see what happens. Once again, with edit and continue, we can make changes on the fly, and Ozcode updates the predictions instantly. Now instead of a null reference warning, we see that the condition evaluates to true, so we'll end up executing the body of this if statement. Let's switch to a scenario where we do have content to save. The write method will write the contents to the file and then return the number of bytes written. In this scenario, the write method does have actual side effects since it's writing data to the file system. Instead of having Ozcode evaluate the method, let's just step over it. After the method has executed, Ozcode shows us what the results were. It's important to note that Ozcode did not call the execute method twice, but instead captured the return value when we stepped over the method. In this video, we saw how the predict feature helps us understand the execution path of our code, giving us visual cues and even warning us before a null exception occurs. Even in live editing, via edit and continue, Ozcode will immediately provide feedback on the changes that we made. In the next video, we'll be looking at the quick attach, which brings much needed enhancements to Visual Studio's attach to process feature. Thanks for watching.